The palace stretched into the sky like a mountain made of glass and light. Jake Morrison stood at the entrance and tried not to show his fear. His uniform was clean and pressed, but it felt too simple compared to everything around him. The walls glowed with colors he had never seen before. Strange music filled the air, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. He was 20 million light-years from Earth. He was 20 million light-years from home. Jake walked through the massive doorway. His boots made soft sounds on the floor, which seemed to be made of crystal. Above him, the ceiling showed the stars and planets moving in real time. He could see Earth from here, a tiny blue dot in the display. It looked so small and fragile. 2 guards stood on either side of the hall. They were Varathians, members of the most powerful race in the galaxy. They stood nearly 8 feet tall with skin that looked like polished diamonds. Their eyes were pure silver, without pupils. They watched Jake but did not move or speak. Jake kept walking. His second-in-command, Kate Harris, walked beside him. She was the only other human in this place. Her face was calm, but Jake knew she was just as nervous as he was. "Remember the mission," Kate whispered. "We need their help." "Earth is counting on us," Jake nodded. He knew, everyone on Earth knew. The Catharan swarm was coming. They had already destroyed 15 human colonies. They ate everything in their path. Cities, forests, oceans, even the atmosphere. They left nothing but dead rocks floating in space. Earth's military had fought the swarm for 2 years. They had lost every battle. Humanity needed allies. The Varathian Empire was their only hope. A sound made Jake stop. It was laughter, high and mocking. A young woman stepped into the hallway ahead of them. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Her crystalline skin sparkled with inner light. She was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "So this is the human," she said. Her voice was musical but cold. "My mother said you were coming. I did not believe Earth would send something so primitive." Jake straightened his shoulders. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Defense Fleet. I am here to speak with Empress Valora." The young woman circled him slowly, looking him up and down like he was an interesting insect. "I am Princess Zylara, and you are amusing. Look at you. So small, so soft. Your skin is not even properly protected. One touch of radiation and you would burn. Your lifespan is what, 80 years? I am 127 and I am still considered a child." Jake said nothing. He had been trained for this. Kate had warned him that some aliens would not respect humans. The best response was patience, but Zylara was not finished. She walked around him again, her robes trailing on the crystal floor. "Tell me, human, how did your species even achieve space travel? Did you steal the technology? Perhaps you found it in ruins left by a real civilization?" "We built it ourselves," Jake said quietly. "It took us 200 years of work." Zylara laughed again. 200 years. We achieved faster than light travel 10,000 years ago. You are infants playing with fire. Why should my mother waste the Empire's resources on such a backward species?" Kate stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes. Jake put a hand on her arm. "Let it go," he said softly. "Wise advice," Zylara said. "Your female has spirit, at least. But spirit means nothing against superior power. The Varathian Empire has conquered 400 worlds. We have destroyed civilizations that would make your entire planet weep in fear. What can Earth possibly offer us?" "We offer friendship," Jake said. "And we ask for help against a common enemy. The Catharan swarm does not stop after they consume Earth. They will keep spreading. Eventually they will reach Varathian space." Zylara waved her hand dismissively. "The swarm is your problem, not ours. When they come to our borders, we will destroy them easily. We have done so before with lesser threats." "Then you have nothing to lose by helping us now," Kate said. The princess turned her silver eyes on Kate. "We have nothing to gain either. My time is valuable. This conversation bores me." She looked at Jake again. "I will tell you what I think, human. I think your species will be extinct within a year. The swarm will consume your world and the galaxy will not even notice. Humanity will be forgotten like dust in the wind." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. This was not about pride. This was about survival. "May we see the Empress?" he asked. Zylara smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Oh yes. My mother is curious about you. She wants to see these humans everyone talks about. These brave little creatures who think they can fight the swarm." She turned and began walking down the hall. "Follow me. Try not to embarrass yourselves." They walked through the palace for what felt like hours. Every room was more magnificent than the last. Jake saw aliens from dozens of species, all working in the Varathian court. Some looked like giant birds. Others seemed to be made of living metal. None of them were human. Xylara kept talking as they walked. She pointed out statues of famous Varathian warriors. She told stories of conquered worlds. She made sure Jake understood how small and unimportant Earth was compared to the Empire. "This statue is Commander Drath," she said, stopping before a towering figure carved from black stone. "He has never lost a battle. He has personally killed 37 enemy champions in single combat. He is the greatest warrior in the Empire." Jake looked at the statue. It showed a Varathian warrior in full armor, holding a weapon that seemed to shift between being a sword and a spear. "Impressive," Jake said. Xylara leaned closer to him. "If you displease my mother, she might have Drath fight you. It would be over in seconds. Your bones would break like twigs." "I will try not to displease her then," Jake said calmly. They finally reached the throne room. The doors were 50 feet tall and covered in symbols Jake could not read. Guards stood at attention. They opened the doors slowly. Inside, the Empress waited. Valora sat on a throne that seemed to be carved from a single massive diamond. She was larger than her daughter, more imposing. Her presence filled the room like gravity. When she looked at Jake, he felt like she could see through his skin to his bones, to his heart, to his soul. "The human arrives," Valora said. Her voice was not mocking like her daughter's. It was neutral, measuring, weighing. Jake walked forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, I bring greetings from Earth and a request for aid." Xylara moved to stand beside her mother's throne. She whispered something that made several courtiers laugh quietly. Empress Valora raised one crystalline hand. The laughter stopped immediately. She studied Jake for a long moment. Then she spoke. "Tell me, Captain Morrison, why should the Varathian Empire risk its ships and soldiers for your species?" Jake took a breath. This was the moment. Everything depended on his answer. "Because," he said, "today it is Earth that needs help. Tomorrow it might be another world. The galaxy is large, but the threats we face do not respect borders. If we do not help each other, we will all fall alone." Xylara laughed. Beautiful words from a dying species, but Empress Valora did not laugh. She continued to watch Jake with those ancient silver eyes, and in that moment he realized something. The Empress was testing him. This whole thing, even her daughter's mockery, was a test. The question was, could he pass it? The throne room fell silent. Every eye was on Jake. He could feel the weight of their stares, the judgment in their expressions. Most of them looked at him the way someone might look at a child who had spoken out of turn. Empress Valora leaned forward slightly. "You speak of unity and cooperation. Noble concepts. But words are cheap, Captain Morrison. The Varathian Empire does not make alliances based on pretty speeches." Jake nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty." "Then let me speak plainly. The Catharan swarm has consumed 15 of our colonies. Over 2 million humans are dead. We have fought them with everything we have, and we are losing. If we fall, the swarm will grow stronger. They will multiply. They will spread. And eventually they will reach worlds under your protection. Then we will destroy them," Xylara said from beside her mother. "We have weapons you cannot imagine. We have warriors who have fought for centuries. The swarm is nothing to us." "Perhaps," Jake said, looking directly at the princess. "But would it not be wiser to stop them now when they are smaller? Why wait until they become a real threat to your empire?" Xylara's silver eyes flashed with annoyance. "Are you suggesting the mighty Varathian Empire is afraid of some insects?" "I am suggesting," Jake said carefully, "that prevention is better than cure, and that Earth is offering you something valuable. A foothold in our part of the galaxy, a grateful ally, and information about the swarm's tactics and weaknesses that only we have learned through fighting them." An older Varathian standing near the throne spoke up. He wore robes marked with symbols of rank. "The human makes a fair point, Your Majesty. Intelligence about the swarm could be useful." Xylara spun toward the courtier. "You would take advice from this primitive. Look at him. His technology is barely functional. His weapons are crude. His ships are slow and weak. What could he possibly teach us?" The courtier bowed his head and said nothing more. Empress Valora stood from her throne. The movement was fluid and graceful. She walked down the steps toward Jake. Each step echoed in the vast chamber. When she reached him, she was so tall that Jake had to tilt his head back to meet her eyes. My daughter raises valid questions, the Empress said. Why should we believe that Earth has anything of value? You have been in space for less than a century. You have no territory, no resources we need, no military power worth mentioning. What you are asking would cost the Empire ships, soldiers, time. What you offer in return is insufficient. Jake felt his heart sink. This was not going well. He had known it would be difficult, but the reality was harder than he had imagined. Kate stepped forward. Your Majesty, if I may speak? Valora looked at her. Proceed. Earth may be young in space terms, Kate said, but we survived on our own for thousands of years. We fought through ice ages. We survived plagues that killed millions. We split the atom and chose not to destroy ourselves. We are resilient, we adapt. These qualities have value. Xylara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Resilience? Adaptation? Every species thinks they are special because they survived their own planet. It means nothing out here among the stars. Then what would mean something? Jake asked, turning to face the princess. What would prove to you that humans are worth helping? Xylara smiled. It was a dangerous smile. Now that is an interesting question. She looked at her mother. Perhaps we should invoke the ancient traditions. Several courtiers gasped. The older advisor shook his head slightly as if warning against something. Empress Valora's expression did not change, but Jake sensed a shift in the room's energy. Something important had just happened, explain, the Empress said to her daughter. Xylara walked toward Jake, her robes flowing around her. The trial of metal. It is an old custom, rarely used anymore. A petitioner who seeks favor from the Empire may prove their worth through combat. If they win, their request is granted. If they lose, they are sent away in disgrace. Combat? Kate said. That is barbaric. That is tradition, Xylara said sharply. Or do humans not have traditions? Oh wait, you are too young a species to have developed any real culture. Jake ignored the insult. He was thinking fast. A trial by combat. It was insane. The Varathians were stronger, faster, and had technology far beyond Earth's. But what choice did he have? If he refused, they would send him home with nothing. Earth would fall. Everyone he knew would die. Who would I fight? Jake asked. Xylara's smile grew wider. Commander Drath, the greatest warrior in the Empire, the one whose statue you admired. The courtiers began murmuring among themselves. The older advisor stepped forward. Princess Xylara, this is highly irregular. Commander Drath has never been defeated. He has killed 17 opponents in trials. It would be murder to send this human against him. Then the human should refuse, Xylara said sweetly. If he is too afraid, if his species is too weak, let him go home and wait for death with dignity. Jake felt Kate's hand on his arm. Jake, do not do this. There has to be another way. But Jake was looking at Empress Valora. The ancient ruler stood silent, watching him. Her expression gave away nothing. Was this another test? Did she want him to accept or refuse? There was no way to know. If I accept this trial, Jake said slowly. And if I win, will you send aid to Earth? Yes, Valora said. Her voice was firm and clear. I will give you my word as Empress. If you defeat Commander Drath in fair combat, I will send a battle fleet to defend Earth from the swarm. This I swear on the honor of the Empire. And if I lose, then you and your companion leave immediately. We will never speak of this again, and Earth will face its fate alone. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of home. He thought of the cities he had grown up in, the forests he had hiked through, the oceans he had swam in. He thought of his parents, his friends, all the people who would never even know he had tried to save them. He opened his eyes. I accept the trial. Kate grabbed his arm harder. Jake, no! This is suicide. It is our only chance, Jake said quietly to her. Then louder to the Empress. When does the trial take place? 3 days from now, Valora said. In the arena of Ascension. You will be given quarters to prepare. You may use whatever equipment and training methods you wish. At dawn on the 3rd day you will fight Commander Drath. The combat continues until one fighter surrenders or dies. Xylara clapped her hands together, delighted. Oh, this will be entertaining. I have not seen a trial in years. And to watch a human try to fight Drath? It will be the talk of the court for decades. You seem very confident that I will lose, Jake said, looking at her. Of course you will lose, Xylara said. You are human, weak, soft, slow. Drath will break you like a toy. But please do try your best. Make it at least slightly interesting before you fall. Jake said nothing. There was nothing to say. He had made his choice. Now he had to live with it or die with it. Empress Valora raised her hand. It is decided. The trial will proceed. Take the humans to the southern quarters. Give them whatever they require. She turned to leave, then paused and looked back at Jake. Captain Morrison, I admire your courage, foolish though it may be. Then she was gone, walking through a door behind the throne. The courtiers began filing out, talking excitedly among themselves. This would be news throughout the Empire within hours. Zilara remained. She walked up to Jake until she was standing very close. I will come visit you over the next 3 days, she said softly. I want to see how a doomed man prepares for death. I want to watch hope drain from your eyes. And when you fall in the arena, I will be there in the front row watching every moment. Why do you hate us so much? Jake asked. What did humans ever do to you? Zilara's expression shifted. For just a second, Jake saw something behind the mockery, something that might have been pain or fear or old anger. But then it was gone. I do not hate you, she said. I simply know what you are. You are the same as all the other young species who come here begging for help. You think you are special. You think you matter. But you do not. You are dust, and soon you will return to dust. She turned and walked away, her robes trailing behind her like a comet's tail. Kate and Jake stood alone in the massive throne room. What have you done? Kate whispered. Jake looked down at his hands. They were steady. That was good. He would need steady hands for what was coming. What I had to, he said. Now let us go see these quarters. We have 3 days to figure out how to beat the unbeatable. The quarters were simple but clean. 2 rooms with beds, a bathroom, and a large open space that Jake could use for training. The walls were the same glowing crystal as the rest of the palace, giving off a soft light that never changed. There were no windows, no way to tell if it was day or night outside. Jake sat on the floor of the training space. His body was still, but his mind was racing. 3 days, 72 hours. That was all the time he had to prepare for a fight against the greatest warrior of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Kate paced back and forth. This is insane. We need to find another way. Maybe we can talk to the Empress privately. Maybe we can offer something else. There is nothing else to offer, Jake said quietly. You heard Zilara. Earth has no resources they need. No technology they want. No power they respect. The only thing we have is ourselves. Then we are lost. Maybe. Jake stood up and began stretching. His muscles were tight from the long journey and the stress of the day. Or maybe not. Tell me what you learned about Drath. Kate pulled out a small device, a human tablet computer that looked crude compared to Varathian technology. I accessed the palace database during the audience. Most of it was locked, but I found some public records. Commander Drath is 243 years old. He has fought in over 100 battles. Never defeated, never even injured seriously. He is a master of the Varathian combat system, which combines physical strength with telepathic prediction. Telepathic prediction? Varathians can sense the thoughts and intentions of their opponents. Not read minds exactly, but feel what they are planning to do. It makes them almost impossible to surprise. Jake nodded slowly. What else? He is 7.5 feet tall, approximately 300 pounds. His bone structure is denser than human. His skin is partially crystalline, which gives him natural armor. He can see in multiple light spectrums. His reaction time is 3 times faster than a human, so he is bigger, stronger, faster, tougher, and can predict my moves. Jake smiled, but there was no humor in it. Is there any good news? Kate hesitated. There might be one thing. I found records of his fights. He has never gone longer than 15 minutes in single combat. His opponents usually fall in the first 5 minutes. Because he is so skilled? Yes, but also because Varathians have incredible burst strength and speed. However, they are not built for endurance. Their metabolism burns energy quickly. In their history, their battles have always been short and decisive. Jake stopped stretching. Something sparked in his mind. Endurance. They do not have endurance, no. But Jake, 15 minutes is still a long time. Can you even last that long against someone so superior? I do not know, Jake said honestly. But maybe that is the key. Humans are not the fastest or the strongest, but we are distance runners. Our ancestors hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can run for hours if we have to. We can fight through pain and keep going. You are talking about outlasting him. It is the only chance I have. I cannot be faster or stronger. I cannot match his skill. But maybe, just maybe, I can refuse to fall down. Kate looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, then we train for endurance. We build up your stamina. We prepare your body to take damage and keep moving. They spent the first day training. Jake ran in place for hours. He did exercises until his muscles screamed. Kate timed him, pushed him, made him go further than he thought he could. When he wanted to stop, she reminded him what was at stake. Earth is counting on you, she said. Everyone we know. Everyone we love. You cannot give up. So he did not give up. On the second day, Zilara came to visit. She arrived with 3 other young Varathians, all richly dressed courtiers. They stood at the entrance to the training room and watched Jake as he worked. Still preparing, I see, Zilara said. How noble. How pointless. Jake ignored her and continued his exercises. He was doing push-ups, counting each one silently. You know, Zilara continued, walking into the room, I have been thinking about your species. I asked the palace scholars to tell me about Earth. Do you know what I learned? Your world has been at war with itself for most of its history. Humans killing humans. Over territory. Over resources. Over ideas. You barely stopped fighting among yourselves when you reached the stars. We made mistakes, Kate said from where she sat against the wall. All species do when they are young? Zilara laughed. Young, that is your excuse? We Varathians unified our world 12,000 years ago. We had peace and prosperity for millennia before we ever left our planet. Your species is still barbaric, still violent, still primitive. Jake finished his push-ups and stood. Sweat dripped down his face. He looked at Zilara calmly. You are right. We fought each other. We made terrible weapons. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. But we survived. We learned. And now we protect each other instead of fighting each other. How sweet, one of the courtiers said, sneering. The apes learned to share. Jake walked to a small sink and splashed water on his face. Tell me, princess, have you ever been in a real fight? Not a trial or a ceremony. A real fight where you might die? Zylara's expression hardened. I am royalty. I do not need to fight. I have warriors to do that for me. Then you do not understand. Jake dried his face with a cloth. Fighting is not about being the strongest. It is about having something worth fighting for. When you have people you love, people who depend on you, you do not give up. You cannot give up. Because if you fall, they fall too. Philosophy from a primitive, Zilara said, but her voice was less mocking now. Does it comfort you as you prepare for death? I am not preparing for death. I am preparing to win. The courtiers laughed. Even Zilara smiled. You cannot win. It is impossible. Drath has fought enemies far superior to you. Enemies with real skill. Real power. You are nothing compared to them? Maybe, Jake said, but I will fight anyway. Because that is what humans do. We fight impossible odds. We do things everyone says cannot be done. Sometimes we lose. But sometimes we win, and that small chance is worth everything. Zilara stared at him. For the first time, she seemed unsure of what to say. Then she turned abruptly and left, her courtiers following behind her. Kate stood up. She is getting worried. You think so? Yes, did you see her face? She is starting to question herself. Maybe she wonders if you might actually have a chance. Or maybe she just thinks I am a fool, Jake said. But he smiled a little. On the third day, Princess Alara came to visit. She was Zilara's older sister, and she looked different from the younger princess. Her expression was kind, her movements gentle. She came alone. Captain Morrison, she said. I am Princess Alara. May I speak with you? Of course, Your Highness. Alara sat on a bench near the wall. I wanted to apologize for my sister. She is young and does not understand many things yet. She is 127 years old, Kate said. Which is young for our species, Alara replied. I am 312. I have lived long enough to see many species rise and fall. I have learned that age and technology do not determine worth. Character does. Jake sat down across from her. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that not all Varathians think like my sister. Many of us respect what you are doing. Coming here took courage. Accepting the trial took even more courage. Whether you win or lose, you have already proven something important. What have I proven? That humans do not surrender easily. That you will fight for your people even when the odds are impossible. Alara stood. I will be watching the trial tomorrow. I will be hoping for you to survive. Not to win? Ilara looked sad. I am honest with you, Captain. I do not think you can win. Drath is too skilled, but I hope you will fight well and earn honor in the attempt. That is all anyone can ask. After she left, Jake and Kate sat in silence for a long time. Even the nice ones think you will lose, Kate said quietly. I know. Are you scared? Jake thought about it. Yes, I am terrified. But fear is not a bad thing. Fear keeps you alert. It makes you fight harder. The trick is not to let it control you. That night, Jake barely slept. He lay on his bed and thought about Earth. He thought about the forests and oceans. He thought about cities full of people who did not even know his name. He thought about all the humans who had fought and died trying to stop the swarm. He thought about all the people who would die if he failed tomorrow. Finally, as something that might have been dawn approached, Jake heard footsteps outside his room. He sat up, expecting Kate. But the door opened and Empress Valora entered. Jake stood quickly and bowed. Your Majesty. Valora looked at him with those ancient silver eyes. She did not speak for a long moment. Then, why did you accept the trial, Captain Morrison? You must have known you cannot win. Because I had to try, Jake said. Because Earth has no other options. You will die tomorrow. Maybe, but maybe not. There is always a chance. Valora walked closer. She studied his face carefully. I see something in you. Something that reminds me of my people when we were young, before we became an empire, before we conquered the stars. We had that same fire in our eyes, that same refusal to accept defeat. What happened to that fire? Jake asked. We became comfortable, safe, powerful. We forgot what it was like to struggle. Valora turned to leave. She paused at the door. Fight well tomorrow, human. Show the Empire what your species is made of. Then she was gone. Jake stood alone in the darkness. Tomorrow he would face the greatest warrior in the galaxy. Tomorrow he would probably die. But tonight he had hope. And sometimes hope was enough. The arena of Ascension was massive. It could hold 50,000 spectators and every seat was filled. Beings from across the Varathian Empire had come to watch. Some were curious. Some were there for entertainment. All of them expected the same result. Jake stood in the preparation chamber beneath the arena. He could hear the crowd above, their voices mixing into a sound like ocean waves. Kate stood beside him, checking his equipment for the 10th time. Your armor is secure, she said. The seals are good. Your weapon is charged. Jake wore a simple combat suit, the best humanity could make. It was flexible and light with minimal armor plating. His weapon was a combat staff, extendable and capable of delivering electric shocks. It was nothing compared to Varathian weapons, but it was what he knew how to use. Kate, Jake said quietly, if I do not make it, you need to get back to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we tried. You are going to make it, Kate said firmly. But her eyes were wet. A horn sounded, deep and resonant. The call to combat. That is your signal, a guard said from the doorway. He was Varathian, but his voice was not unkind. May you die with honor, human. Jake walked toward the entrance tunnel. Light blazed at the end of it, painfully bright. He could hear the crowd getting louder. They were chanting something in the Varathian language. He did not know what it meant, but it did not sound friendly. He stepped into the arena. The light was blinding at first. When his eyes adjusted, Jake saw thousands of faces staring down at him. The arena floor was smooth crystal, slightly springy beneath his feet. On the far side, another entrance opened. A figure emerged. Commander Drath was even more imposing in person than his statue suggested. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, wearing armor that seemed to be made of flowing metal. It moved with him like a second skin. His weapon was a long spear that shifted and changed shape as he walked. His face was hidden behind a helmet, but Jake could feel the weight of his stare. In the center of the arena, a Varathian official stood on a raised platform. His voice was amplified to fill the entire space. Behold the trial of metal. Captain Jake Morrison of Earth has challenged the honor of the Varathian Empire. Commander Drath, greatest of our warriors, has accepted the challenge. They will fight until one surrenders or dies. There are no other rules. Begin. The official disappeared, dropping through the platform into a chamber below. The crowd roared. Drath moved first. He crossed the distance between them in seconds, his spear extending into a long blade. Jake barely rolled aside in time. The blade struck the crystal floor and sent up a shower of sparks. Jake activated his staff and swung at Drath's legs. The commander simply jumped, flipping in the air and landing behind Jake. A kick caught Jake in the back and sent him flying forward. He hit the ground hard, feeling his ribs crack. Pain exploded through his chest. Jake gasped for air. The crowd was screaming, but it sounded distant now. Everything narrowed to the moment. To surviving. Drath walked toward him slowly, confidently. His spear shifted back to its normal form. He was not in a hurry. Why would he be? This fight was already over. Jake forced himself to stand. His ribs screamed in protest. He raised his staff in a defensive position. "You fought bravely," Drath said. His voice was deep and resonant. "But this is finished. Surrender now and live." "No," Jake said. Blood ran from his mouth where he had bitten his tongue. Drath tilted his head. "Then die." He attacked again. This time Jake was ready. He did not try to match Drath's speed. Instead, he focused on deflection. When the spear came at him, he redirected it just enough to avoid a killing blow. When Drath kicked, Jake absorbed the impact and rolled with it. He was not trying to win yet. He was trying to survive, to learn, to understand how Drath moved. The fight continued. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Jake was covered in cuts and bruises. His armor was cracked. His left arm hung useless at his side, probably broken, but he was still standing. The crowd had gone quieter. This was not what they expected. Drath should have won already. Drath himself seemed puzzled. He increased his speed, his attacks becoming more aggressive, but Jake kept moving, kept dodging, kept deflecting. He took hit after hit, but none of them put him down. "Why do you not fall?" Drath asked, genuine confusion in his voice. "Because I cannot," Jake said through gritted teeth. "Too many people are counting on me." 15 minutes, 20. Jake's vision was blurring from blood loss and pain. His legs felt like they were made of lead. Every breath was agony from his broken ribs. But he was still moving. And Drath was slowing down. It was subtle at first. A fraction of a second longer between attacks. A slightly less powerful strike. But Jake noticed. His training over the past 3 days had been about endurance, about pushing through pain, about refusing to stop. Now it was paying off. Humans were distance hunters. They could keep going when other predators collapsed. It was written into their DNA, carved into their bones by millions of years of evolution. 30 minutes. Drath was breathing hard now. Varathians were not made for long fights. Their bodies burned energy too quickly. They were designed for short, decisive victories. Jake saw his opening. When Drath swung his spear, Jake did not dodge. He stepped into the attack, taking it on his shoulder instead of his chest. The pain was incredible, but he was close now. Close enough. He brought his staff up and caught Drath under the helmet. The electric shock made the commander stumble backward. The crowd gasped. Jake pressed forward. For the first time in the fight, he was attacking instead of defending. His strikes were not elegant. They were not skilled. But they were relentless. He hit Drath again and again, giving him no time to recover. Drath tried to retreat to create distance, but Jake followed. His broken body moved on instinct and stubbornness. He was beyond pain now. Beyond thought. He was just motion and will. 45 minutes. Drath's attacks were slow now, almost clumsy. He was exhausted. His metabolism had burned through all his energy reserves. He was running on fumes. Jake was too. But Jake had been training for this. Had been preparing his body to push past limits. To ignore what his mind was screaming at him. He swept Drath's legs. The tall warrior fell. Jake raised his staff for a final strike. Drath looked up at him. Even through the helmet, Jake could sense his shock. "You," Drath said, gasping for breath. "You should be dead. I broke your ribs, your arm. You should have fallen long ago." "Humans do not know when to quit," Jake said. His voice was barely a whisper. "It is our greatest weakness. And our greatest strength." He brought the staff down, not to kill, but to touch it against Drath's chest in a gesture of defeat. The electric shock made Drath's armor crackle. The commander lay still for a moment. Then slowly he raised his hand in the Varathian gesture of surrender. The arena fell completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. They could not believe what they had just witnessed. Then the crowd exploded. Half of them were cheering. Half were shouting in anger or confusion. All of them were in shock. Jake stood over Drath for a moment longer. Then his legs gave out and he collapsed. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the royal box, where Xylara stood with her mouth open in disbelief, and beside her Empress Valora was standing, her silver eyes fixed on Jake. The Empress was smiling. When Jake woke up, he was in a medical facility. Lights glowed softly above him. His body felt strange, numb. He tried to move and found he could not. "Easy," Kate's voice said. She appeared beside his bed. "You are in the Palace Medical Wing. They have you in a healing pod. You broke 4 ribs, your left arm, your shoulder, and you had internal bleeding, plus about 50 smaller injuries. Did I win?" Jake asked. His voice was rough. Kate smiled and tears ran down her face. "You won. You beat Commander Drath. You did the impossible." Jake closed his eyes. Relief washed over him. Earth would be saved. The Varathian fleet would come. Humanity would survive. "How long was I out?" 6 hours. "The Varathian medical technology is incredible. They say you will be fully healed in 2 days." Kate squeezed his hand gently. "Jake, the whole Empire is talking about you. You are famous. The human who defeated the undefeated champion. Where is Drath? Is he okay?" "He is fine. Exhausted and embarrassed, but fine. He actually came by earlier to see you. He said you fought with honor." Jake smiled weakly. "Good. I did not want to hurt him. Just to win." The door opened. A figure entered. When Jake's vision cleared, he saw Princess Zylara standing at the foot of his bed. She looked different. Her expression was not mocking anymore. She looked smaller somehow, less certain. "Captain Morrison," she said quietly, "I came to see if you were recovering." "I am," Jake said. "Thank you for asking." Zylara stood in silence for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was barely audible. "I was wrong about you. About humans. I said you were weak, primitive. I said you would fall in seconds." She looked down at her hands. "I have never been more wrong about anything in my life." "It is okay," Jake said. "You did not know. That is no excuse. I judged you without understanding. I mocked you when you were trying to save your people." Zylara's crystalline skin seemed to dim. "You risked everything, and I laughed at you." "You were not the only one," Jake said. "Everyone thought I would lose. It is understandable." "No," Zylara said. "It is not understandable. It is shameful." The door opened again. Empress Valora entered, her presence filling the room. Zylara turned quickly, bowing to her mother. The Empress looked at Jake for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice carried the weight of command. "Tomorrow there will be a ceremony. In front of the entire court. My daughter has something she needs to do." Zylara's eyes widened in fear, but she nodded. Jake did not understand what was happening. But he would find out tomorrow. When they left, Kate sat back down beside his bed. "What was that about?" Jake asked. Kate smiled. "I think you are about to see something no one has seen in a very long time. A princess of the Varathian Empire admitting she was wrong.